keep riding your camels in the Saudi desert. One comment and 6 months of careful diplomacy with Riyadh teeter on the brink. Beneath Gaza, Hamas tunnels still pulse with life and technocrats prepare to govern. Can fragile peace survive political blunders and ongoing threats? Or is the Strip destined for another flare-up? A single comment about camels may have just torpedoed 6 months of careful diplomacy between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich told a conference audience on October 23rd that if normalization with Riyadh meant accepting a Palestinian state, Israel should pass. His exact words:
"Keep riding your camels in the Saudi desert. We'll continue to develop our economy, society, and state with all the great things we know how to do."
The backlash was swift and severe. But what wasn't known until Channel 12 revealed it Friday night is what happened just before that speech. According to the Israeli broadcaster, when Smotrich was flying to India in early October, his plane stopped in Dubai for what was supposed to be a routine layover. That's when his phone rang. A senior official from the United Arab Emirates was on the line. The conversation was tense. The Emirati official tried to explain the importance of the Abraham Accords and what kinds of actions could destroy any chance of expanding those agreements to include Saudi Arabia. Channel 12 reports that Smotrich listened, hung up, and then decided to return home with a plan to annex the West Bank. An unnamed senior Israeli official told Channel 12 that
Smotrich's remark destroyed half a year of quiet work with Saudi Arabia.
the statement caused what one report called significant diplomatic damage. Hours after the speech, Smotrich tried to walk it back on social media. He wrote,
"My statement about Saudi Arabia was certainly not successful, and I regret the offense it caused. However, at the same time, I expect the Saudis not to harm us and not to deny the heritage, tradition, and rights of the Jewish people to its historical homeland regions in Judea and Samaria, and to establish true peace with us."
Opposition leader Yair Lapid responded in Arabic on social media, writing,
"To our friends in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, Smotrich does not represent the State of Israel."
When asked about the Dubai phone call, Smotrich's office said only that the minister does not comment on private conversations. Two years into the war, and the numbers are sobering. Channel 12 reported Friday that Defense Minister Israel Katz revealed to US Vice President J.D. Vance during his visit this week that more than 60% of Hamas tunnels across Gaza have not been destroyed. After 24 months of operations, less than 40% of the tunnel network has been eliminated. The remaining tunnels exist on both sides of the Yellow Line, meaning some are in territory the IDF currently controls. The Times of Israel noted that the IDF estimated earlier this year it had destroyed just 25% of Hamas's tunnels. Military officials argue they focused on attack tunnels and command centers rather than the numerous passages Hamas uses simply to move around the Strip. But the reality remains stark. Those tunnels are still deadly. Last week, Hamas fighters emerged from one and killed 2 IDF soldiers during an operation near Rafah. Even during the current ceasefire, explosions continue to echo across Gaza as the IDF works to destroy the tunnels it can reach.
Demolishing the tunnels is the most important joint mission in demobilizing Gaza, in accordance with the Trump plan, and we must prepare to implement the issue. We must return all the dead hostages, eliminate all the tunnels, take the weapons from Hamas, and ensure that it will not be a ruling factor in Gaza.
Meanwhile, the New York Times reported that the United States has begun flying surveillance drones over Gaza to monitor the fragile ceasefire. According to the Times, these reconnaissance missions support a new civil-military coordination center established last week in southern Israel by US Central Command. What's notable is that while the US previously flew drones to help locate hostages, these new missions suggest American officials want their own independent understanding of what's happening on the ground, separate from Israeli intelligence. Daniel Shapiro, former US ambassador to Israel under President Obama, told the New York Times,
This is a very intrusive version of U.S. monitoring on a front where Israel perceives an active threat. If there was total transparency and total trust between Israel and the U.S., there wouldn't be a need for this. But obviously the U.S. wants to eliminate any possibility of misunderstanding.
Meanwhile, the main Palestinian factions have said they have agreed that an independent committee of technocrats would take over the running of Gaza after Hamas said it had received clear guarantees from mediators that the war has effectively ended.
The groups have agreed in a meeting in Cairo to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a temporary Palestinian committee composed of independent technocrats, which will manage the affairs of life and basic services in cooperation with Arab brothers and international institutions.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Israel on October 23rd and wasted no time laying out American expectations. Speaking at the Civil Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, Rubio made clear there's only one plan for Gaza, and it's President Trump's 20-point framework.
We fully expect that Hamas will fully demilitarize. That is the agreement they signed on to. That is the agreement that all of the nation states that joined this effort signed on to, and we expect it to be fulfilled. Everyone that signed on to this plan, all of these other countries agreed, and everyone agreed that Hamas cannot govern and cannot be involved in governing the future of Gaza.
When asked about UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, Rubio dismissed any role for the organization. He said,
"UNRWA's not going to play any role in it, but not UNRWA. UNRWA became a subsidiary of Hamas."
This came days after the International Court of Justice ruled that Israel must cooperate with UNRWA, a position Israel has said it won't follow. Regarding the International Stabilization Force that will eventually deploy to Gaza, Rubio acknowledged Israel must be comfortable with participating countries. He told reporters,
"Obviously, as you put together this force, it'll have to be people that Israel's comfortable, or countries that Israel's comfortable with as well." Let me just say that I think there are a lot of countries that are expressing interest right now. I'm not going to get into a list of who they are. I'm not going to get into a list of who's offered, who's been vetoed.
Israel has already said Turkish troops won't be deployed given Turkey's support for Hamas. On annexation of the West Bank, which the Knesset voted on this week in a preliminary reading, Rubio echoed Vice President Vance's criticism. He said,
"This was a vote that they took in the Knesset. From what it was explained to me, it was elements that tried to use it to embarrass Netanyahu while the vice president was here. It would also threaten this whole process. I mean, we understand that, right? I mean, everyone has to understand if something like that were to happen right now, if that were to happen, a lot of the countries that are involved in working on this probably aren't going to want to be involved in this anymore. It's a threat to the peace process, and everybody knows."
He also held out hope for expanding the Abraham Accords, suggesting broader regional normalization could be a byproduct of achieving some of this, though he wouldn't name countries. 14 days into the ceasefire agreement, the message from Washington is clear. Israel has done its part. Now Hamas must follow through or face the consequences of breaking the deal.